you're a fan of dark fantasy gothic films that take a different spin on classic fairy tales, then I definitely think you'll enjoy this one. I'm Mike the Movie Misfit. It's Shudder Saturday, so please don't forget to hit like and subscribe for weekly reviews and recommendations for Shudder originals. And let's talk about The Ugly Stepsister. So when I first heard this was going to be a different take on the Cinderella tale, I was a little put off just because I was like, okay, is this going to be another one of those movies where we basically sympathize with the villain? And to be completely honest, I'm kind of burned out on that theme because I'm like, nobody's a villain anymore because we're too busy sympathizing with all these characters. I'm like, I just need a villain to be a villain these days. So does this movie do that?
Honestly, yes and no.
I am going to give The Ugly Stepsister a lot of credit. This movie really does a good job as far as making you feel for our main character, Elvira. And yes, she is being forced to go through this full body transformation. And yes, the underlying theme is it is supposed to be for the good of the family, but it's also really for her very selfish mother. And we really get to see what she puts herself through, not just for her selfish mother, but also to fit the beauty standards of the royal family. And yes, in this movie, beauty really is pain, and they're not kidding about that.
Life is pain, Highness. Anyone who says differently is selling something.
What I really enjoyed about this movie is that the Cinderella tale itself is really pushed to the side and it really focuses on Elvira and her story alone. And yeah, I totally forgot that this was technically a Cinderella tale because you're so focused on Elvira's story and her struggle, you're actually really rooting for her. And by the time that Cinderella comes into play, you're like, oh no, I already know how this is going to end. But at the same time, you're like, hopefully Elvira gets her piece of the cake too. And since this movie is more of the darker side of the Cinderella story, Cinderella herself isn't perfect. In fact, in this movie, Cinderella is kind of a...
You're a bitch!
And like I said, I am really burnt out on that theme of taking villains and saying, hey, guess what? They're really not the villains. They're really good people after all. Ha ha ha, it's all a misunderstanding. This movie really manages to be its own separate thing, and I really like this story so much better than any of the fairy tales we have gotten before about it. Not only is this a well-crafted movie, it is visually very appealing to look at. We got great costumes, great cinematography, great colors, great use of shadows, great tones, and all of that is really good to look at in this film. And even the gothic fantasy look that this movie had really took me back to the 80s as a little kid. Watching those old fantasy movies that I grew up on, it really just like hit home with me as far as like the overall look and just the vibe that it had. Not many movies can capture a whole vibe from the 80s because, yeah, this movie had the fantasy side to it. It was dark. It was a little bit twisted. It had likable characters. It really had that Sorry, I got a little tongue-tied there. But, yeah, it definitely had that fantasy vibe. And, yeah, it like even had a lot of weirdness to it. That's weirdness that you could only find in an old 80s movie. And this movie managed to capture all of that. And yes, when I said this movie captured the spirit of the 80s, I wasn't kidding because this movie has plenty of... and a lot of...
a loved one, joystick, dong, zipper lizard, tallywhack, and trouser snake schlong.
As you can tell, I really enjoy The Ugly Stepsister. I could not stop recommending it after I saw it. So my rating for The Ugly Stepsister, well, if you already have a subscription to Shudder, definitely check it out. It is definitely worth your time and definitely worth the watch. And I would definitely say it's worth the rental if it's $2.99. Alright, The Ugly Stepsister, did you see it? Was this movie a big surprise for you? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Please comment below and let me know. Alright, so I had the short review up last week, so sorry that the long version took a little longer to go up, so apologize about that. Hopefully you watched the entire video, and please don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Sorry, kind of had a glitch there. So yes, hit like and subscribe, and please don't forget, I am not sponsored by Shudder at all. Shudder won't even return my email, so I have been reviewing Shudder Originals every Saturday for the last 3 years, and because, well, no one is doing it as frequently as I am. So please don't forget to like and subscribe. Hopefully one day Shudder will return my emails with something positive. And I'm Mike the Movie Misfit, and I'll see you at the movies.
Yeah.